Picture this. It's 1769, and a small English town is throwing this massive 3-day festival. And it's all for one guy, William Shakespeare. This was the first party of its kind, and it changed everything. But what if this famous celebration wasn't just a party? According to the source material we're digging into, it was actually the last move in a huge, decades-long conspiracy, a plan to hide a secret that could literally rewrite history. All right, let's get into it. Yeah, this quote from historian Christian Dielman, it just nails it. He calls the Jubilee the point at which Shakespeare stopped being regarded as an increasingly popular and admirable dramatist and became a god. And that's really the heart of it. This one event is what took Shakespeare from just a celebrated writer to, well, a cultural icon, almost a mythical figure. A single festival put him on a pedestal, and honestly, he's never come down. So, that's the big question we're tackling today. What was this Jubilee, and what was its real purpose? I mean, on the surface, sure, it was just an arts festival. But the source we're looking at, it suggests there was something much deeper going on. We're talking secret societies, hidden symbols, and a really powerful group of guys who were all in on it together. Okay, so to really get the Jubilee and its supposed real purpose, you gotta know the man who pulled all the strings. And he wasn't a politician, not a king. No, he was probably the biggest celebrity of the entire 18th century. So the year is 1769. We're in Stratford upon Avon, and the guy organizing this whole thing is a superstar actor named David Garrick. He was like the most famous actor of his time. He got famous doing Shakespeare's plays, so in 1769, he decides, hey, let's throw the world's first ever Shakespeare festival right here in his hometown. It was a huge deal. People came from all over England. But our source says Garrick had a very different reason for doing it.
But here's the thing. Garrick wasn't a solo act. Not at all. He was the center of this web, this network of some of the most powerful men of the era, and they were all connected by this shared and very, very private bond.
Garrick's inner circle? It was a private club he called the Brethren. And that name, well, that's a pretty big clue. The source we're looking at points out that the Brethren has some serious Masonic vibes. And when you look at who was in the club, the mix of people was apparently very typical for a Masonic lodge at the time. And just look at this list of members. It's an absolute who's who of the 18th century brain trust. You've got writers, politicians, top editors, even an American founding father, Benjamin Franklin. And what, according to our source, did all these heavy hitters have in common? You guessed it, they were all Freemasons. So yeah, this was way more than just a Shakespeare fan club. This was a powerful, secret society. But this whole plan, it didn't just pop up in 1769 for the Jubilee. No, the source material argues that the clues for this whole thing were literally set in stone more than 10 years earlier. And they were hidden in plain sight, right on the banks of the River Thames. So back in 1756, Garrick builds this temple in his garden. He calls it his Temple to Shakespeare, and it's where he kept all his memorabilia. Looks like a charming tribute from a huge fan, right? Well, the source says, not so fast. We need to look a little closer at the architecture. And this is where it gets really interesting. See, in Freemasonry, the style of a pillar isn't just for looks. It's packed with meaning. And Garrick's temple, it has these big, prominent, ionic pillars. In Masonic symbolism, ionic pillars represent wisdom, which just so happens to be a core concept for the very first degree of Freemasonry. Coincidence? Our source is pretty sure it's not. And the clues keep coming. The temple has only one entrance, and it faces east. Why is that a big deal? Because it's a direct mirror of the legendary Temple of Solomon, a hugely important story in Masonic tradition. But here's the kicker. That design also echoes something called Solomon's House from a book called New Atlantis, a book written by a man who's about to become the key to this whole puzzle, Sir Francis Bacon. Okay, so this is the moment where the theory we're exploring goes from, interesting connections to a truly explosive claim. We're talking about a secret so big it would need a massive, centuries-long cover-up to keep it hidden. I mean, really think about it for a second. Why would this incredible network of powerful people, Garrick, Ben Franklin, dukes and earls, pour all this time and money into building temples and throwing these giant festivals? What secret could possibly be worth all that trouble? And here it is. The answer, according to this theory, is the Baconian theory. The idea that the whole project, the secret club, the temple, the Jubilee, it was all an elaborate scheme to protect the true author of Shakespeare's plays, Sir Francis Bacon, the genius philosopher, scientist, and statesman. So if you follow this line of thinking, Garrick's temple wasn't actually for the Shakespeare from Stratford. No, it was for Bacon Shakespeare, who the source claims was the secret founder or grand master of this whole esoteric brotherhood. So the name William Shakespeare, in this version of events, it's just a mask, a cover story. And get this, the source presents some pretty compelling visual evidence. Take a look. On the left, that's the statue of Shakespeare that Garrick had made for his temple. On the right, that's a bust of Francis Bacon. Now here's the crazy part. They were both sculpted by the same guy, a known Freemason named Louis-François Roubiliac. The argument here is that the Shakespeare statue is secretly a portrait of Bacon. I mean, look at them side by side. What do you think? And this feels almost like a mission statement. It's a quote from Francis Bacon's own writing. In time, the hidden truth will be revealed. Kind of the perfect motto for a secret society that sees itself as the guardian of a hidden truth, just waiting for the right time to reveal it, right? Which brings us full circle, right back to the grand finale, the Jubilee. And when you look at it through this lens, the festival in Stratford starts to look less like a party and a lot more like the final act of a brilliant, long-running scheme. So here's the bottom line of the theory. The Jubilee was the masterstroke. It was basically a giant PR campaign to lock in the godlike status of the name Shakespeare forever. And by doing that, they perfectly protected the secret of the man they believed was really behind it all, Francis Bacon. And you have to see who was on the guest list for this thing. Our source points out it was packed with high-ranking Freemasons. We're talking Grand Masters of the whole organization, plus powerful men whose families had direct historical ties to Francis Bacon himself. This was no random party for aristocrats. The source claims this was a full-blown meeting of the Brethren. And this right here, this is the climax of the whole event. You're seeing David Garrick, the mastermind, reciting his ode to Shakespeare. This performance was the absolute heart of the Jubilee. In front of all of England's most powerful people, he gives this incredibly emotional tribute that basically crowns Shakespeare as the immortal genius of the nation. He sealed the legend right then and there, for centuries to come. So, what's the real story here? Was the 1769 Jubilee just a genuine celebration of a literary genius that happened to create a cultural icon? Or was it, as this theory suggests, the most successful PR campaign ever pulled off by a secret society? That's the question, and the answer might just be one of those hidden truths that time has yet to reveal.